Will this be copyright claimed? Hopefully not, but welcome to another episode, a Super Bowl special of the Two Fans Podcast. I'm your co-host, Joshua Ament.
And I'm your other co-host, Ari Jesselson.
It is snowing here on this New York Sunday. It is not, I don't think at least, it is snowing in Tampa, where the Super Bowl will be played in just a matter of hours.
Oh, yeah. And it is looking to be one of a great Super Bowl. Definitely memorable. So what do you want to talk about specific? But before we get to the Super Bowl, how about that award ceremony last night?
Again, we talked about it. We back on Thursday, made our predictions. A lot of them, we agreed on a lot of them. We got right. I believe you got one more. You got Derrick Henry as Offensive Player of the Year. Good on him for surpassing the quarterback standard. Like I said, like defying that legic. We both missed Defensive Player of the Year. I still think TJ Watt was robbed. Leading the league. By the way, with only 15 games, leading the league in sacks, in TFLs, in quarterback hits, and then losing Aaron Donald, he's great, but he's also won it before, and Watt just deserves it.
Yeah, but also going back to that statistic, when you look at them side by side, Donald only has 12 less sacks. He only has 1.5 sacks less. Only has 11 less tackles for losses, has less than 13 pressures, and has more forced fumbles. And remember, this is a linebacker versus a defensive tackle. And while I do believe TJ was robbed, you got to admit that is pretty impressive for a defensive tackle to make stats like a linebacker.
I don't know. It seems like a little bit. It's still a little bit of a reach, especially again considering Donald's already won the award, and he's had some historic seasons. I can't deny that, but it just seemed like Watt's year, and he had it snatched from him.
Yeah, and even as a Browns fan, it felt that TJ was robbed. So, but other than that, we were pretty spot on with our predictions.
Yeah, that we were, but that is all in the past now. Let's look to the present and maybe even to the future. So we got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. Where do you want to start?
Well, I think we should start by going back to the past, where in October 29th, 2020, the Chiefs and the Bucs did face off. While the game was pretty close, 27-24, with the Chiefs taking the victory, we also have to remember the receiving game, as Tyreek Hill had 13 receptions, 269 yards, and 3 TDs. Most of those were in the first quarter alone. I think going back to these games, you have to see that the Chiefs' passing offense is the deadliest thing in the game, probably the best in the NFL in total. So I think for a Bucs to get a victory, they have to learn from that game to cover up the receivers.
Yeah, right, definitely. Of course, we have reference with that Super Bowl preview on November 29th. I just want to clear that up. But let's take a look. First of all, just these teams' records in the games leading up to. Of course, Chiefs 14-2 record. Undefeated against every single team outside of their division, and have not lost against a team over 500 this season. As for the Bucs, again, looking by record a little more vulnerable at 11-5, but their most recent loss was that November 29th game against the Chiefs. They have not lost since that game. Let's just look now a couple of the overall season stats. I'll look at, again, the expected point contribution, because it's kind of really when you break it down, points are the most important stat in the game. So let's look at the Bucs first. Let's look at their offense. Is number 3 in pass EPC, not too well in the run EPC, only number 22. Ranked the 7th most yards per play, and 3rd most points scored this season. The defense, on the other hand, probably even better. Ranked number 7th in pass EPC, number 3 in run EPC, 6th fewest yards per play, and 8th fewest points allowed. So in total, again, like I said, I think this is back to Wednesday. This year ranked 4th in offensive EPC, 6th in defensive EPC, and number 1 overall in total EPC. So you really like, even I will admit, like I going into this season saw the Bucks, saw a lot big off season, but maybe a wild card team at best. Well, I wasn't wrong. Um, but this team, but this team is certainly the total package, well rounded, in just about every aspect of the game, except that run game. But as we'll see, again from the Bucks to the Chiefs, we're gonna see an air raid like no other.
Oh yeah, and just going back to the Bucks stats, they are 3rd for points and they're 8th for points against, showing how crucial their efficiency for scoring and against scoring is. I do believe that like you said, the pass attack for both teams is going to be exciting, and there's going to be a lot of it.
All right, now let's look at the other side of the ball, and in the Kansas City Chiefs, with their highly prolific offense, second maybe only to the Packers this season. Offense ranked number 1 in pass EPC. Yards, I don't think showed it, but their run EPC was also top 10. Third in yards per play, and ranked number 6 with most points for. Their defense, on the other hand, doesn't look as good on paper, but they certainly make plays when it counts. Defense ranks just outside the top 10, with number 12th in pass EPC. Their run EPC is 31st, but again, we see that not too great Bucks rushing attack, so that probably won't matter too much. A little bit of an area of concern is only ranking 19th in yards per play, but they still rank number 10th overall in points allowed. So again, you see these 4 point against, all of them ranking top 10. You see just how much these teams are able to make the final score count.
Yeah, and also going back to points for and against, the Chiefs for points for, they rank 6th, and points against, they rank 10th, showing how high they are for both those categories. So, but I think my concern is that the Tampa Bay Bucks this year look like the Rams in Super Bowl 53, if that makes sense. That these teams are both high pressure. They're both big player names, kind of aging a little, and just like looking back to the Rams, they have these big stars, Eric Weddle, Todd Gurley, Ndamukong Suh, and there's definitely a lot more Marcus Peters. They had a lot of big names on the team, but they were never able to make a count. When we look at these Bucks, Tom Brady, Leonard Fournette, Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Gronkowski, Chris Godwin, and that's just on the offense alone. You could kind of see this on defense, Jason Pierre-Paul and Ndamukong Suh. You do have a lot of big names on the team. These two teams do kind of play a little bit similar, but as we've seen before, big names doesn't make a great Super Bowl, or doesn't guarantee a winning Super Bowl.
Yeah, of course, not all Super Bowls are going to be good. I think I don't think though we're going to see what we saw 2 years ago. Again, these two teams both pride themselves so much on their passing attack, and I think it really leads for a surprisingly sort of like equal opportunity, so to speak, sort of matchup where both teams, it feels like, need to do similar things in order to pull out the victory. I'll go ahead and look at, and again, like we alluded to earlier, some key matchups certainly for both sides of the ball involve that passing attack shutting down the quarterback who some might see as the GOAT, and his incredible plethora of receivers.
Yeah, and also for the superstitious people out there, there is a statistic comparing Patrick Mahomes to Russell Wilson, in the first starting years, they both lost in the divisional not the divisional round, the conference round, the champions round. The next year they won a Super Bowl, and as we know, Russell Wilson in his third year as a starter lost to Tom Brady. So I know it is a superstitious thing, but can we see the same thing play out?
Yeah, who knows? Let's go ahead and let's look a little bit more into not specifically the quarterback matchup, because again, that's been done to death. I don't think we need to really go too in depth into it. But the passing game as a whole, and I think it really starts where people tend to overlook the battle in the trenches with the pass protection and the pass rush. And I'll give you a couple of stats, see who has the edge there. For the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line, ranked fourth lowest sack percentage this season. That Bucs defensive line also ranked third highest in pressure percentage. One thing also to note in that Chiefs offensive line is Eric Fisher, and former #1 overall pick, offensive tackle for the Chiefs, will be out this game. So that's going to give the Bucs defensive line a bit of an edge. But of course, you can't. It's not that simple when you have Patrick Mahomes, his ability to scramble to get out of pressure. So he will certainly have to do that. Let's look at that from the other side too. The Bucs offensive line, which even better than Chiefs, ranking second overall in sack percentage, and we really needing to, with Brady not being again the most mobile quarterback, certainly has had enough protection. And the Chiefs defensive line will still having a good amount of pressure, ranked just outside the top 10, #12 in pressure percentage. So you can see in terms of when you look at the pass rush, who's going to be able to protect their quarterback the most. You can see Tampa Bay certainly has the edge there.
Yeah, and going to the other side of the ball, when we look at the combined stats for the Bucs defense, 48 sacks total, 116 QB hits, one safety, 667 solo tackles. And going to the Chiefs defense, while it is similar numbers with 32 sacks, 652 solo sacks, tackles, and 99 QB hits, the Buccaneers they're able to send more pressure to the QB, get them more head up, and send more in a collapsing pocket, which is going to be a big key for the Bucs, especially without Eric Fisher in the game.
Yeah, right. One more thing, because again, it all starts with the pass rush, with what happens on the offensive line. But as much as we can't discredit just how much the quarterbacks and the receiving core and the secondary are going to make an impact in this game. Of course, I don't know what your over under is on number of 30+ yard plays. I would certainly take the over in that when you have big playmakers on both sides of the ball: Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, Scotty Miller. Who knows? Maybe Gronk could run off for some 80-yard touchdown or something. Is that both offenses are gonna have big plays. Both defenses are gonna give up a lot of big plays. But what might even affect be the last big play of the game is when the defense can come up with an interception. And in that category, you certainly have to look at the Chiefs. Their secondary with Tyrann Mathieu, Bashaud Breeland, Daniel Sorensen have all really seemed to make big plays when it's mattered most. You see, even going back to last year, last Super Bowl, they, of course, we'll talk about the Mahomes comeback and Damian Williams' excellent game, but that defense in the third and fourth quarter have really shut down that Niners offense.
Yeah, and also as we saw in the beginning of last year's game, it did take some time for the defense to click, or you can even make the argument it took a while for the 49ers offense to shut down. So I think the Chiefs defense, it is elite, but the thing is there's so many weapons on that side. So it is going to be harder for the Chiefs defense to stop that pass game and that light rushing game.
That's right. I think I think as far as when you go back to when you go back once Brady and Mahomes have enough time and are able to throw it, which defense is going to be more likely to come up with that big, again, maybe game-changing interception? Because both these offenses are so prolific. As many opportunities you can get to stop them, you're going to need to take advantage of every single one of them. Mahomes, I believe, yeah, he's ranked. He is the second fewest among qualifiers interception rate, ringing only behind MVP Aaron Rodgers. So he's very safe with his decisions to throw. So I don't know how many opportunities Tampa's going to get to take advantage of that. They rank that Bucks D ranked 11th best with interception percentage. But going to the other side of the ball, and this is where you really get to see, oh yeah, this might be the game here. Is Tom Brady a very mediocre 17th ranked interception rate? That Chiefs defense had the sixth highest interception rate among defenses. So if there's one team that's going to come up with a big late game interception that can really change momentum of the game, I would place my bets with that KC secondary.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that. I think the secondary is elite, and going back to that back game, Tyrann Mathieu is one of the, if not the best safety in the entire NFL. So I do believe his place on the field is going to be a big impact for what's going to happen in the game. When we look back, everyone always says you're as strong as your weakest link. So let's go to the kicking game for a minute. Chiefs kicker Ryan Scoop, who, fun fact, was Mr. Irrelevant in the 2009 draft, has a field goal percentage of 90.3% and an extra point percentage of 91.2. When we go to Tampa's offense, I'm sorry, Ryan Scoop is the current kicker for the Buccaneers. Mr. Irrelevant, 90.3% field goal percentage and a 91.2 extra point percentage. When we look at Harrison Butker on the Chiefs, he has a field goal percentage of 92.6 and an extra point percentage of 88.9. While those aren't big differences or significant differences, I do believe that Ryan Scoop, he's a more experienced kicker, been in the league for a while, has been doing this for a while, which I think gives him the edge in that field of the game.
Yeah, it is definitely kind of interesting. We talk about the offense, the defense, and we really seem to leave out special teams. Of course, I would tend to give Butker the edge. Certainly more stable. He's taken that kicking job with KC. Really hasn't looked back. Suckup has kind of bounced around a little bit, which generally is not something you want to see in a kicker. Ask me how we went with the journeyman named Cody Parkey. Yeah, we both have some. Yeah, we both have some stories with that. But I guess if and I kind of just thinking of this now, but when you really want to go to special teams too, you can definitely see with Casey, if you have some big playmakers in Tyreek Hill, in Mecole Hardman, who knows, you might see them break off some big punt return, big kickoff return that could again swing momentum in their favor.
Yeah, and I think a key part for the Buccaneers to help them win the game is to be able to pressure Patrick Mahomes without sending the house at him. You have to keep people spread on the back, maybe double cover some people, but you also need to pressure him, keep him out of the pocket, make it collapse, which I think is going to be hard for the Bucs to do, especially when you have guys, because in the back you have Patrick Mahomes, one of the, if not the greatest quarterback, the running game with Le'Veon Bell and Clyde Edwards. Yes, thank you. Is elite at the end of the day. Clyde is a good rookie running back, and Le'Veon Bell has that experience. But when we look at the receivers, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, I mean, those two alone are the best receivers, the best receiver and the best tight end in the NFL today. So it is going to be hard for the Bucs to be able to stop that efficiently.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna brush on that Chiefs run game little bit more because that might be probably the biggest difference between the Bucks and the Chiefs is that the Chiefs really do have a run game to fall back on if all else fails. Not that anyone's thinking that KC passing attack will ever fail. But that's just another sort of added layer that the Bucks are going to need to key in on. Of course, they have a good run defense, but they're going to need to expend some of those resources on defense to shut down that run game, and that may open up just enough for Mahomes the pass attack to thrive.
Yeah, I do, and I do agree with you on that point. But I just think it's going to be. I think that the Bucks running backs are stable enough. Obviously, Ronald Jones is the second, 192 attempts, 978 yards, 7 TDs, yard average of 5.1 per attempt, which isn't bad. And once he gets opened, he could do something. Leonard Fournette is still a solid running back, not putting up those stats. And you still have veterans like LaShawn McCoy, who have been in the big game before last year with the Chiefs and have been in the league for a while. And he knows the system of the Chiefs. He was there last year when they won the Super Bowl. So he might have that extra advantage for knowing how it might work.
Yeah, it is interesting to look at it from the other side. I would think kind of looking at from the other end, not so much that Chiefs defense having to key in on the Bucks running attack, because the Bucks again generally are much more at least pass run ratio wise heavier on that Brady pass attack than the Chiefs are. But more so, you could think of it as the Bucks trying to exploit one of frankly the worst run defenses in the league. Like I said, the KC run defense ranked 31st in EPC, which really you don't want anything to rank 31st.
Yeah, especially with 32 teams, that's not pretty good. But yeah, I think the Bucks will find a way to expose that defense. As I said, the running game is pretty good, and if all those fails, I mean, look, the receiving core is on paper and on the field is still pretty. It's top 10. I mean, Mike Evans is an amazing receiver. Chris Godwin is also. He has multiple number one receivers playing different positions. All his options at the end of the day can be a number one option on a different team.
Absolutely, and you can really say that about both teams. Like you have Sammy Watkins being like the fourth option for Mahomes, maybe fourth or fifth, or I mean something that like he was the number 4 overall pick back in 2014, I believe. Like
Yeah, 14.
he could probably be the number 2, maybe number 1 option anywhere else, but he's just relegated to, yeah, maybe you'll get a couple snaps here, but that's just credit to the Chiefs being able to develop, being able to draft right, and just look at the results. So many of these weapons on offense.
Yeah, exactly. And also going back to the two teams, they really build their success differently. We saw the Chiefs building it through the draft and free agent, through doing more of the draft, drafting Travis Kelce, drafting Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You can see a lot of them on the offense, at least, being house name guys since the start. While the Bucks, while they are still in the drift, a lot of the success now had to come from free agency. I mean, Tom Brady, LaShawn McCoy, even though he's olding up, Rob Gronkowski is still a big name at the end of the day. Antonio Brown, when he's on the field now, you can see how he's different compared to the previous years. So it's just interesting to see how the two teams build their success.
All right, now I have a couple of sort of open-ended discussions, not so much on the game itself, but sort of what it actually one of them kind of is. But no, I guess I'll start with that one now, since I let myself into it. Is that if you didn't know by now, of course, Super Bowl is in Tampa. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing, and this marks the first time in Super Bowl history that a team is hosting a Super Bowl in their own stadium. Of course, even in spite of COVID, you're going to have 25,000 fans in attendance. And so the question I have to ask you, Ari, and to anyone listening, just something to think about is, will home field advantage be an important factor in this game?
Oh, absolutely. I think for every sport, no matter how little it is, home field advantage is a key part. Obviously, with the hometown fans, you have them in state. They don't have to travel anywhere else. They don't have to go by plane or by car to leave the area. And what's nice with this year, uh, out of those 25,000 fans, 7,500 of them will be healthcare workers as a thank you. So obviously, those 7,500 healthcare workers are Floridian. They're hometown fans. So you just have 7,000 plus fans for free on top of the maybe, I don't know, 15,000 other Floridians who will go to that game. Obviously, the crowd is going to get pumped up. This is the first Bucks Super Bowl since the 2002 season, 2002-2003 season, and home field at the end of the day does play an advantage. I mean, look at the Seahawks when they lost their 12th man.
Yeah, certainly. All right, now one more thing, and this may take a little bit more time. Is that like you just mentioned, the last time the Bucks were in the Super Bowl was 2003, and that was Super Bowl 37. Of course, they were playing the Oakland Raiders. Wait, no, was it Oakland then?
Yeah, it was the Raiders.
Okay, it was. I know it was the Raiders. It was. Yeah, Pirate Bowl was. Someone tell me if it's not Oakland.
It's the Oakland Raiders.
All right, thanks for clearing that up. But since then, 15 of the past 17 Super Bowls, not including this one, have had Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, or Ben Roethlisberger representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. Of course, last year you sort of saw that dynasty crumble. Of course, you have Brady now in the NFC. Peyton Manning's long been retired, and Ben Roethlisberger seems to be on his last legs. But the past 2 years, I mean, have been the Mahomes-led Chiefs. And again, I don't know if we should be looking ahead to next year, but it certainly looks like Mahomes and the Chiefs are going to be poised for another Super Bowl run next year, regardless of what happens today. If they make it back next year, it will be 18 of the past 19 AFC champions with a total of 4 quarterbacks. What I have to ask is, if that happens, now that like we celebrate the fall of an empire of the Brady's, Manning, Roethlisberger is gone. But if Mahomes is certainly looks like he's here to stay. And could that possibly mean that the AFC might be even more predictable than it was the past 2 decades?
Oh, obviously. And there are people now, even for this game, who are sick of the Chiefs winning. And the only reason they're rooting for them today is because they don't want to see Brady win. But going back also, Patrick Mahomes as a starter has passed 3 AFC championship games. Think about it like that. He's been nearly 4 years, 3 years as a starter, and he's always went to the AFC finals. The Chiefs, it's going to be hard to stop them because unlike Lamar, it's easy. It's somewhat easy to stop a running quarterback with a lack of throw power, lack of throw game in general. The problem with Patrick Mahomes is that he has such a deep arm, and with the receivers, they could get open. They're speedy, they're shifty. It's harder to capture. It's harder to contain them. And not only that, the running game is stable. It's above average. The defense is unbelievable. And just we've seen time and time again how hard it is to contain, not even beat the Chiefs, but just to contain the Chiefs. So I think they are going to be a problem for the AFC for the long time.
Yeah, right. Definitely. One more thing, I guess, just to prove my point a little more. After today, the last 6 quarterbacks to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl will have been all 6 different in the past 6 years. Tom Brady, of course, this year. Last year, Jimmy G. Going back, Jared Goff, Nick Foles, Matt Ryan, and Cam Newton. Do you want to guess the sixth most recent quarterback to represent the AFC in a Super Bowl?
Um,
I'll give you a hint.
Mahomes, Brady. Oh, it's what's his name? Joe Flacco.
No, even further back. You got to go back to the last time the Bucs were in the Super Bowl, 2003, when they were facing the Raiders and Rich Gannon.
Rich Gannon. Oh wow.
Yeah, really goes to show you just how much of these dynasties have pretty much blocked so many of these great quarterbacks out of Super Bowls. Of course, most notable, Philip Rivers. Again, Flacco snuck in that one year. But man, it just goes to show.
That's it.
Yeah, not even. I mean, Andrew Luck, again, short career, but brilliant when he was healthy. Never a Super Bowl.
Yeah, because when you look at the big two guys, Ben Roethlisberger, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, the big three, my bad. They are just such great, probably the best of the best. You can argue for any of them being the GOAT at the end of the day. So it's no wonder why you don't really see as many quarterbacks back then. Now with this season, we are seeing more options in. It's obviously going to be Patrick Mahomes, but who is the other quarterback to show up? Who are the other three quarterbacks even to show up in the playoffs in the Final Four?
Certainly a quarterback. We'd like to focus on them, make the most of a deal out of them. But of course, and you'll see this with Brady, with Roethlisberger, of course, with Manning to Super Bowl 50, is being able to have the organization to build a great team, the great defense, great weapons around that quarterback. Again, of course, with those three, they've been in situations where that has worked out. Certainly with Mahomes, the Hunts and Chiefs organization has done a great job with that. It's going to be interesting to see if they can still do that when Mahomes' extension kicks in. I believe after next year, when if they're going to have to pay guys like Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. So it's certainly, I would hope to see guys like Lamar Jackson, like Josh Allen, maybe even Baker Mayfield in the Super Bowl in the coming decade, not just have Mahomes 10 times.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of us were sick of Brady with. Everyone would always root him, even if you're going to root for a divisional rival. But I think with this year, especially and what we saw this past season, it's more expandable to newcomer quarterbacks. But just to step outside of the quarterback conversation, there was a bit of controversy at the wide receiver position this past week. Do you know? Obviously, you heard the story of Scotty Miller versus Tyreek Hill, right?
I have not.
Scotty Miller, Buccaneers receiver, he was the one to catch 7 balls at training camp in the punt returns to kick returns practice. He said that he could beat Tyreek Hill in a 40-yard dash.
This is
Scotty
quite the
Miller.
bold claim.
Yeah, Scotty Miller wasn't invited to the Pro Bowl, but at the Packers Pro Day, he did run a 4.39, while Tyreek Hill ran a 4.29.
So, I mean, of course. I mean, it's Super Bowl week. You're gonna have two guys, same position, same number, number 10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scotty Miller's number 10. Tyreek Hill's number 10.
Yeah. Of course. About to feature in the Super Bowl, chirping at each other. We'll see. I certainly think that's going to fuel both of them. To go for some great games. Of course, Tyreek Hill, we've seen that last time he faced this Bucs team, 269 yards, 3 touchdowns, with 13 catches.
Yeah, and I'm honestly, there's going to be a lot of throwing phases, throwing words around, but it's just interesting to see what could happen. But in all honesty with you, I really don't want to see the Super Bowl this year. I don't want to see, I'm kind of bored of Patrick Mahomes, and I don't want to see Tom Brady again. Instead, I have a new idea that I'd like to tell you.
Oh, let me hear it.
Yeah. Andy Reid, Bruce Arians, food eating competition. Who do you got? The thumb versus the walrus. Hot dog eating competition. Whoever eats the most in set time wins the Super Bowl. That way, we don't have to see Tom Brady
If this
or
were
Patrick.
last year, I would say Andy Reid, his hunger for that Super Bowl. But I think now that he's won it, now that it's kind of subsided a little bit, I give Arians the edge.
You give Arians. So Arians for the fooding competition confirmed by Josh.
Lock it in.
Lock it in. But you got to admit, that would be interesting to see. Obviously, these are two heftier guys, heftier coaches in the NFL.
Yep. All right. I think we can now sort of get into to the last bit of meat of back to the game itself. So what do you think? A couple of things each team needs to do in order to win. Yeah, you say yours, I'll say mine, and then we give our predictions.
Yeah, so I think the Bucks. It's about for the defense. It's about pressuring Patrick Mahomes while not sending him in the house. If you could keep 4 or 5 guys in Patrick Mahomes while keeping safeties and corners and even some linebackers by the receivers, it's going to stop the pass game a lot. For the offense, you just need the ball rolling. Take Ronald Jones Jr. The second and get the running game going. Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones Jr., LaShawn McCoy, great running backs. LaShawn McCoy, definitely Hall of Famer, but he is old. He is 32. So I think they got to take the run game and they got to pressure Patrick without sending the house. For the Chiefs, I just think they have to be the Chiefs, just keep being the Chiefs. Just the offensive line, they just have to see how it will work without Eric Fisher, who is a big part of that line. If they could fix the line woes and they're steady with that, the Chiefs are going to be the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, they're going to do what they do if the line is there. And if not, we are going to see more of scrambling Patrick, which is pretty scary to see. And for the defense, I just get to Tom Brady. He is old. He's an older QB. He's just an old guy. This was supposed to be a down year for him. Obviously, that wasn't. And he is 43 years old. I say you just got to get to the quarterback. And that's kind of it. Just pressure Tom and fix the line. What about you, Josh? What do you think?
Man, I certainly think that this is a daunting task for this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team. For them to win, I think number one, they need to shut down the run game if the Chiefs want to lean into it, so that they can focus more of their efforts on defending against Mahomes and those Chiefs weapons. Of course, they need to pressure, contain Mahomes, and not let him out of the pocket, not let him scramble, because that's, of course, that's when he's scariest, when he's out of the pocket, improvising plays on his own, kind of like I'm improvising the sentence. Of course, they need to stop also the big plays from Tyreek Hill and McCole Hardman. I don't know if that secondary, if guys like Devin White, like Sean Murphy Bunting, like Antoine Winfield, the rookie, are up for that. They certainly need to be on offense. They really Brady needs to play a near perfect game. He doesn't need, of course, a touchdown on every throw. But he pretty much seems to me like he's going to need a completion on every throw, and really can't give up any turnovers, it seems like it might be a leaking issue coming in. Of course, you have coming off the NFC Championship game. Good on you for taking on the Packers, but still throwing three interceptions. Certainly scary, and I don't think he's going to be able to get away with that today. And I guess I'll kind of go into that. It really, for really a lot of those things need to happen for the Bucks to win, in my opinion. I really think that if the Chiefs can just make sure one or two of these things don't happen, then they win. And I think because of that, because sort of the Chiefs seem to have the upper hand here. Again, it's certainly going to be an entertaining game. It's going to be an all-out air raid from both offenses, or both defenses. Really gonna have to keep up, and it's gonna come down to who makes one more play, and that always, it seems to be to me, is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's why I have them winning with the score of 34-28. What about you, Ari?
Yeah, I have the Chiefs but I do believe it's going to be 34-32. I do believe it is going to come down to the wire. It's going to might be a solo defensive play, one key play to step up into the game. But I do believe the Chiefs are just stronger all around on the entire field. So I see the Chiefs winning this.
Good to see that we are in agreement there, and cannot wait for if Tampa Bay pulls off the upset, for everyone to come back, for Old Take Exposed to see this.
Yeah. Were we right or wrong on these predictions? Let us know in the comment section down below.
Yeah, so of course we don't normally do this on Sunday. It was certainly enjoyable to talk about it, get this fresh in your mind, for when we see this game, just in I believe 4 hours from when we're recording this.
4 hours, 6
let
minutes to be exact.
Yeah, less than that, from when you're going to be listening. So I mean, let's all just enjoy the game and hope this isn't Super Bowl 53 Part 2.
Exactly. Let's have a fun game. And at the end of the day, we're just here to watch some good football. But speaking of Super Bowls, though, just got to bring one thing on. Speaking of the Super Bowl, on Wednesday for the show, we're going to have Super Bowl champion and Raiders legend Jack Squirick on the show Wednesday, and on this Wednesday. If you do have questions for the man, please email us at twofanspodcast@gmail.com. Number 2, all lowercase and no spaces.
Yeah, certainly. We're very excited to have Jack Spyrick on with us. Of course, you can email us if you have questions for him or questions for us, comments for us, or anything else you want us to talk about. Of course, that email, twofanspodcast@gmail.com. Number 2, no caps, no spaces. We do this every single day, Monday through Thursday, on top of this Sunday's Today. Of course, you can find it on Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. So with that being said, we will talk to you next time.